On December 21, 2020 there will be what is called the Great Conjunction. While conjunctions happen every 20 years, and have been most likely occurring long before we even existed on this planet, this video is going to specifically focus on the cycle of the one beginning on March 4, 1226 and ending on December 21, 2020. This is also the first time that it will be in the element of air after 800 years of being in the earth element. Now what does all of this mean? It is the end of a cycle and the start of a new one. This is too big to ignore. All of which did occur, but they occurred on the astrological level, not the physical. So let's take a look at how all of these symbolic representations are used to give a physical understanding when it comes to the interpretation of myths and astrology, as best as I can explain logically. I want to begin by saying that perhaps we should not be so quick to dismiss mythology and all it encompasses, but rather have a better understanding with the associations of the various aspects of archetypes that are represented by the many cultures around the world that wanted to give a physical image themselves so that they could better understand what they were seeing in the sky and how it related to their own lives and civilizations. This is something that I myself have been wondering about as well in my research of repetitive patterns and why they have been occurring, and now all of the pieces have fallen into place. So here is what I have gathered so far. First off, remember that all can also be looked at as giant mind, or if it helps to visualize better, a giant brain if you will. As all is mind and we have our own individual minds, which in turn also influences and is influenced by the overall whole collective mind. It is this overall mind domain where all of the images associated with a deity figure such as a Christ, a god, a demon, an angel, an alien, or whatever else comes from. Imagination gives life to energy in a sense. It creates a visual image that is easier to identify than, say, a sinusoidal wave of energy. Now of course there is absolutely nothing wrong with imagination. What is of high importance, however, is to remember that it is just that. Imagination. Nothing more. That being said, let's continue. As 2020 comes to a close, the solar system has decided to grace us with a cosmic Christmas miracle that hasn't been witnessed in nearly 800 years. On December 21, aka the December solstice, Jupiter and Saturn will align so closely in the night sky that they'll almost appear to collide from our vantage point here on Earth, creating a radiant point of light often referred to as the Star of Bethlehem or the Christmas star. Jupiter and Saturn represent society. They are known as the social planets and represent our connection with the higher order of governments and control. This Christmas star is also where the idea of Christ being born on December 25 originates from. There never was an actual person born on this date that is the Son of God. It is all a symbolic tale of the star and planet alignments during the winter solstice beginning December 21 and ending December 25. This is where the entire origins of the holiday come from. It is all of astrological origins. This is why it must be understood with a balance of both the logical and mythical mind. Again, while myths are important, all they do is give a physical viewpoint that creates an image for the mind to understand. This is why each culture has its own ideas of a sky wizard, and a virgin who gave birth to imaginary sky wizard's son, and the other accompanying factors of the entire story, which was nothing more than a folk tale of what was viewed in the sky at the time on the astrological level, not the physical. Now let's examine the points of the earth and air elements and the specific symbolic roles they play. For the last 800 years this cycle has been in the earth element. But what does this mean? Well, earth strengths are grounded, logical, and hardworking. Earth weakness are lazy, stubborn, and materialistic. With the end of the earth cycle we will be moving into the air cycle. Air strengths are communication, joyful, imaginative. Air weaknesses are self-centered, dishonest, flaky. When you look at the two attributes of each, they seem to sort of in a sense be of the same energy signature, just in slightly different variations. Hopefully that makes sense. So it is these slight changes that are the main focus here. The earth factors have brought us to where we are now, and the air factors are what we are going to be entering into. The possibility for a more creative world. A shift in power from those that have ruled, to the people that want to rule themselves instead of being told what to do. This is why the conspiracy movement has gained so much momentum, and many of the subjects presented are not really conspiracies anymore, as there is far more evidence on certain matters than there is not. Many of these topics are the deep-rooted parts of our collective unconscious as well that we can no longer keep sweeping under the rug. It is time to face truth and look at the evidence presented that the illusory world we thought we know is actually crumbling and revealing itself right in front of our eyes. As the saying goes, follow the money trail and you will find the connections. Or variations thereof. So now let's move on to the pattern of viruses in the conjunction over the last 800 years. Also to note that these are viruses, not diseases. A virus is not able to reproduce on its own and requires a host to do so. All known viruses are parasitic. This has been going on for the past 800 years. And with each year on the 20th there has been a major pandemic. 1320. Plague outbreak among the Philistines. 1420, bubonic plague in the British Isles. 1520, smallpox ravaged Mexico. 1620, the Black Death, plague. 1720, the Great Plague of Marseille. 1820, Asiatic cholera pandemic. 1920, Spanish flu pandemic. 2020, coronavirus. These are the viruses that have occurred the last 800 years. So what makes all of this different now, and how does this all connect? Well, at this time we, or at least a vast majority of the world population, is at a higher state of consciousness while others exist at lower states of consciousness. It is these states which determine how an outside parasite like a virus will affect us. Those who are within the lower states of frequency are a direct match for a virus to take up residence inside of them as a host. Those who are within the higher states of frequency are not a direct match for a virus, and this makes it much more difficult for a virus to take up residence. A virus can only survive if the host is willing to honor it as a guest. Throughout the last 800 years some of us have evolved in our frequency states while the virus has remained at the same frequency. This is the reason COVID is only dangerous to some and not to others, is because it is the closing virus of the era. It is the end of the cycle, so it is not as strong as the previous outbreaks. It is only affecting those that are willing to let it in. Also, the idea that those with other conditions are more susceptible is not entirely true. While this could play a factor, one can have an illness or condition that is being treated quite well, which makes the virus not have anything to attach itself to. It is those who have overall bad health and do not take proper care of themselves for whatever reason that are truly most vulnerable. On another note, is also possible many of us have already had some form of this most recent virus already and are now immune to it. Fear plays a huge role as well as to what the individual's bodily frequency is. This is why cortisol levels are also part of the factor that determines the frequency state of the individual. A very easy, simple way to remedy this is to turn off all mainstream media news sources, as all they do is bombard you with fear porn, which keeps you in a lower frequency state, and monitor other things you may have not noticed that can also cause fear. Remember and come back to your overall powerful self. What happens from here on out is up to us. Will we continue to repeat things as they have been, or will we finally topple the enslavement system, both within and without, and take back our own power? There is a small part of fear some still hold on to. Many have a very low subconscious level fear of ruling themselves and not being told what to do because of the years of psychological warfare that has gone on. It is long overdue for it to all end and allow the good to not only come through, but finally fully allow the good to come through. The end of this 800-year Great Conjunction will happen either way. What we are headed into next is yet to be determined. Nothing is ever written in stone and we still have a choice as to how we decide to move forward. The end.